Well, a very good morning, everybody, for Easter Monday, the 5th of April. Synoptic picture. Cold front is certainly swept through during the night. The first of the fronts has probably just gone through with another line just behind it that I'll show shortly. And that behind it is bringing some very cold Arctic air indeed, straight from the North Pole. As you can see, tight isobars, not as tight as they could have been a couple of days ago. It almost looked unflyable when we looked at the forecast for today, sort of Friday, Saturday. But cold indeed, nothing like what we've had over the last couple of weeks. High pressure out to the west, which will take a little while to establish, and look, even a convergence line as we go into Tuesday. Those winds, pretty strong, probably in the region of 20 to 25, 30 knots of flying heights, anywhere between sort of north and a bit of west in that too. Good for the ridge, not in the perfect direction, but with the strength, I'm sure that will make up nicely. Big thing to note today, freezing level. Freezing level is showing anywhere between the ground and 500 feet up to maybe 1,000, 2,000 feet. The key thing is there is a risk of precipitation today. If it rains, it will actually snow. So it goes without saying, a day to be very careful on both corporate temperature and also the temperature inside the wings of the glider if you are planning to carry any water to whiz around at high speed. But yeah, this is showing the picture somewhere at 1 o'clock. You can just see the cold front is just clearing to the south. So probably got a little bit more distance to go. And we can see the last bits of that front coming down the UK at the moment. Elements of wave probably currently also affecting us, coming off the Brecon Beacons and sort of mid Wales. And that's sort of spilling southwards, but generally just a mid layer of cloud at the moment, which will hopefully burn back fairly quickly, revealing, once the final cold front has passed, some nice unstable air. Public forecast, that's for Tuesday. Let's bring up now. Yeah, you can sort of see northerlies, sometimes even showing northeasterly. I'm not too sure about that. I think it's just picking up showers, doing things, risk of precipitation, which could end up being snow, as listed in the TAFs. But yeah, generally northerly throughout, gusting up to 30 knots at times. And top temperature today, well, we saw in the public forecast sorts of 3s and 4s, and that's barely freezing at the feel light temperature. We're seeing sort of 5s and 6s at maximum, but look at the dew points. I mean, this is very unusual for the UK to have such a big temperature split into the minuses. -12, -13 potentially. So very good soaring conditions in that, but yeah, rather unusual. Currently at Lasham, I can see Andy and Gary are getting ready to go down to 3-4 in a moment, or wherever they're going to be heading off to. They are getting ready to go. So, yeah, that's the picture at Lasham. We can just see the last bit of that cold front just clearing before the sort of the one slightly behind it comes through. And currently at Lasham, we have a temperature of 5 degrees, winds 16 knots from the northwest, and a QNH of 1017. Temperature and dew point are already splitting, so that's good news. Unsurprising, really, given cold front's gone through. And don't think there's anything else there. Yeah, it's been windy during the night. It's sort of 20 gusting 30 at times. You can see elements of the fronts up here from rain alarm, sort of just coming down the country. I imagine we're going to get hit by one of these at some point. As I say, it might be snow. So maybe don't go into the clouds today. Farnborough reporting again northwesterly winds and I said snow in the TAF. Who would have thought that just a couple of days ago? And yeah, gusty winds. And yeah, this is scatter clouds 2,500 feet. It is always a ballpark figure. They never quite put it in properly. Right, this was David's forecast last night. Sort of saying, yeah, we've got to wait for that second bit of front to go through, and by sort of 11 midday, we're going to see 3,000 to 4,000 foot cloud bases. But once we get past the back of that front and into the afternoon, things are going to improve very, very quickly indeed. All this cold air eviction, which David talks about. and up to 7,000 foot cloud base, which, as I'm about to show on the next screen, is quite real. David might update the forecast a little bit later, so it's probably something to watch. But as he says as well, freezing level and cockpit temperature really important today, and the ridge should be working nicely. But yeah, looking maybe strong thermals up to 6,000 or 7,000 feet, and that is sort of reflected by Top Meteo. If we look at, let's go back to 9 o'clock, sorry, 10 o'clock this morning, I think that is, yeah, 10 o'clock this morning. Around here, sort of 3,500, 4,000 feet. Elements, as we can see, just up near Northampton and Oxford, of snow showers. Not getting to the best conditions probably until sort of 1, 2 o'clock, when you can see there it may sort of blue out a bit and become shallow Q, and somewhere in the region of 6,000 to 6,500 foot cloud base, maybe even 7,000 feet in certain places. You can see sort of 2,200 meters, and I think so. Very, very good indeed. And that remaining 6 o'clock, and then quite a quick shut off as the sun is not quite so high in the sky quite yet this early in the season. Cloud amounts just showing sort of the just a bit of overdevelopment, which for mid-level cloud that we've got at the moment, but so that sort of thins out and goes more shallow Q blue later in the day. Task distance is that. So we are generally good heading north up towards the M40 corridor and down to the South Downs. So I'm sure somebody will be able to make a big task out of that. And site forecasts, you can see there. This is for some reason it's picking up more of a easterly. I think again Top Meteo doesn't always quite understand or quite get the same end of the stick with the wind direction, but yeah, very good conditions. Okay, NOTAMs. Now I know it's bank holiday. I've had nothing to say that Solent is closed completely today, so it is active from 11:30 till 6:15. Double check with London Information or with a blind called Solent or Bournemouth or Farnborough, just to sort of work out if Solent are actually there at all. They didn't issue a NOTAM, but I assume they're open as normal, so we'll go on that basis. Salisbury Plain danger areas. There's no crossing service available. Gliding at Middle Wallop. Nothing else particularly. There's an aerial survey in the south of the UK today, but between about 0 and 1,500 feet. Doesn't really say what it's doing, but you might see something floating about sort of west and south of Gatwick, outside of controlled airspace. 22, I know, is about Gloucester, and that's generally it. Farnborough is active as normal. Remember, with high cloud bases, that's the Class C to the south of us. If you are sort of transiting through it, please just have the transponder on. 7,000 works quite nicely, but yeah, make sure your transponder is altitude reporting, and hopefully mode S when you're doing that, or ask for a clearance. But no, super day, but we do have the issue of the setup. So we'll go back to the presentation, which hopefully we can all see. Because we're on runway 34, my least favorite of the runways. I'm going to put in some fairly strict operating instructions, especially for today, because if there's a reasonable amount of you, I want to make sure that we get this done efficiently, because it's very, very easy, even for the experienced pilots, to wander all over the place and end up blocking the launches and causing a lot of frustration. So if you are tying to the runway, please come if from the north side, east or west, come either onto the hard runway or onto the west side grass and come down the runway. All the way down, and then I want you to come onto the runway at the end where you're going to take your cars, take the tow hitch off. If you're coming from the south side, have a very good look, waited by the black hanger, cross to the runway and down to the end of the runway. Let's zoom in a bit. This is going to be the setup at the launch points. So you guys are going to de-hitch your gliders here if there is a reasonable queue. Make sure the glider is fully ready to be pushed into the queue. Come off the tarmac onto the perry track, come round the perry track where we will launch you on the perry track towards the northwest. Up here, sort of potential runway incursion points. Cars whiz round here are probably block that up at some points just to keep people off of it. Avoid towing through here. It's like a minefield. This area as well, I don't want to see landings in. We've just rolled that piece of grass that people have been people complained about up here. It is fine to roll over, and it's actually just to the left of the perimeter track as you take off. But yeah, if you land in here, it just becomes problematic to launch anybody. Tugs as well should not really be landing there either. And I'll have a chat to the tug pilots a bit later about what we're going to do with them. Read lights, I'll just draw on here. Relights can go in here. So circuits round and up into there. I imagine most of you would have been out by then. So yeah, relights onto there, land shorts, then we can pull you off onto the tarmac, back and off for another launch. And landing direction, as I've had it before where people have gone, oh, I don't know what runway is 3-4. So remember where you've launched from or whatever, especially if maybe one or two of you suddenly end up having to launch on a different runway for some means. Good to land deep into the airfield. Don't overfly 2XL, but yeah, landing into the airfield and just mind out for the cross runways. But just keep well away if we are still launching from that launch direction. Here really is not very good because otherwise, again, I have to stop. It is a short runway. It is uphill. There are lots of trees. So yeah, let's play safely, folks. Runway 3-4 is a tricky one. But with a bit of thought, we can make it work. Okay, no jet movements today. It's Easter Monday, so they're not open. I will see you on the airfield very, very shortly, and hopefully we'll get a good day out today. See you later.